Well, thanks very much for doing this.
Mhm.
And this is very much to do with humanizing and showing a glimpse into people's lives.
Mhm.
Uh, and you, of course, are in education. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is John Morrison. I am a lecturer at Edinburgh Napier University in the School of Computing, but a group called Digital Media and Interaction Design. And my specific program has a study abroad as an integral part of the degree experience. I've worked there since 2008.
Oh, excellent. I, I'd like to know about your experience of education.
Sure. So I grew up in the northeast of England. My father worked in the country parks department, and my mother was a biology teacher in high school. Um, so education, I think, was my mother definitely um, saw the importance of education. Uh, I am a bit dyslexic and struggled in the traditional school system, and she was very active in making sure that I got support for English and maths, which I especially struggled with. And so I think at the more kind of primary levels or up to high school, kind of struggled with those subjects, but then flourished in the visual area, so in the arts, and also in the sciences as well. And when I could do after high school, when I could choose the A levels, I chose to do an A level in photography and art and in computer science, and which is a kind of interesting mix. But really loved the idea of visual communication. Kind of fell in love with the process of photography. This really nice marriage between the technical, the science, and the creative with the art. And I remember for the first time seeing a picture appear in the darkroom in the developer, and it was just like an alchemy, like a magic. I was hooked. So that was my first kind of my very fast journey through education. From there, went on to study photography in higher education. So I was fortunate to get a place in Edinburgh College of Art, and that was a really transformative experience. Very small class size, really dynamic and interesting people, and allowed me to explore that and develop quite a sophisticated understanding of photography as a means of visual communication. Um, and I continued journey on from there through working for a small arts charity in Edinburgh, and being one of the roles which came out of that was the educational outreach projects. So I really enjoyed working with in the community, with sharing my understanding of this visual medium with the people.
Excellent. Outside of the formal institutions, I'm interested to know, do you have memories or thoughts of educational experiences or people? If you think back, are there people who stand out in your mind?
I feel pretty lucky or fortunate to have a good relationship with both my parents. And although they separated when I was young, I spent every weekend with my father. And I remember going out because of his job in the country parks outside. And I think that gave me a very deep appreciation and affinity to nature and the environment. Um, and so I think I'm trying to think if there was any particular figures there. I think being active outside was something that as an educational experience, something that stands out in my mind from childhood. It's shaping a lot of the way that I think today was very outside of the classroom kind of experiences in the outdoors of Northumberland.
Superb. Um, And how did you come to be in education then?
I guess the journey started, and it's still the arts charity that I was working for, and opportunities there to. Part of their remit was to make their facilities. So if you're not aware of Stills, it's an arts charity in Edinburgh, and they have a gallery space, but also production facilities as well for artists, including wet dark rooms. And part of the remit then is, as a publicly funded organization or charity, was to reach the widest possible audiences as possible. So when they did a survey and identified a particular demographics, the education program involved going out into these demographics, which included working with partner institutions like the Whale Art Agency in West Hales. So I devised some programs for young people there to engage them with the creative arts, and so went into the community and from participatory practice, worked with a group of young people on photographic and art-based projects to engage them in that area. So I think that was my first exposure to teaching, and then worked on as a tutor with stills for their black and white darkroom class. So that, again, that was an area which was naturally something which always excited me. So it was great to see and enable that or share that passion and see it kind of sparked in other people as well. So those classes ran over usually 6 weeks or an intensive weekend, and were really great experiences to work with people. A very like hands-on way of learning. So if you're working in the darkroom, it was very much about kind of kinesthetic experience of using your body, your hands to kind of shape and sculpt the light, which was quite different to a digital experience. I also taught a digital class there in Photoshop. So if you think about Lightroom compared to darkroom, sitting in front of a computer with Photoshop, I found the experience even between those two courses, the relationships you built with people and the way that you experience the medium quite different from the digital to the analog. And it wasn't for a little while afterwards that I reflected on that and how grateful I feel to have that experience for working in an analog darkroom, even though now predominantly I teach in a digital space. So yeah, from there worked the educational role. It still led to working on the artist residency program there. The program director for the artist residency was Paul Gray, who was the program leader of photography and film at Edinburgh Napier, and he asked me to come in to work with some of his fourth year students.
Just looking the gates now, I'm afraid.
Alright.
Okay. Right. We'll
Continue. To Edinburgh Napier.
yeah. So yeah, Edinburgh Napier was.
So yeah, started doing some demonstration work with Paul Gray. That role also became a technical role as well. I worked in making sure that the computer labs were up to date, and I was naturally interested in the technology. And yeah, so that was a kind of nice marriage again of the creative with the students and furthering my knowledge of digital technology in higher education. Opportunity then opened up to do some lecturing in the School of Computing for a new digital media program they had. And yeah, I seized that opportunity. I was a little nervous when I saw the teaching pack, how technical it was. But again, Paul Gray encouraged me to make it my own and go in there. So I think that was, again, quite a pivotal moment in working in higher education, you know, or a step into that area. And yeah, essentially made myself hard to get rid of after that, and really enjoyed the experience and worked very hard at nurturing the program that I was given responsibility for.
You mentioned dyslexia. I'm interested to know your thoughts on what it is and yeah, your experiences with this word. Because I also have dyslexia, so
I think that it's definitely a kind of mixed blessing. I think it can be of course, very different for individual people, and there's different skills. For me, I found it difficult to engage at school with maths and English especially, and the way the education system was set up at the time meant that I was separated into a different class, and unfortunately that class was very disruptive and very little learning happened. And being separated, I don't think that was a good way of handling it. Hopefully it's not the way it's happened. It continues at school. But I think, yeah, dyslexia doesn't, people think of it in terms of reading and writing, but really it's, for me, the experience is how you deal in everyday life, how you orientate yourself, how you communicate with other people. It's something which I think is quite deeply affects everything about your everyday experiences. The positive side, the gift, if you like, of the dyslexia, I think, is that it allows, I think I have a heightened sense of, in a number of areas. I have a deep knowledge of comprehension of subjects. I find that I can remember things which I read or read to me very deeply, and a kind of creativity as well, which for me is the gift part, that you can kind of see patterns which maybe other people don't see, or that can translate to opportunities as well. I think I'm quite good at a time in life I felt that I was lucky with. Now, more objectively, I think that I'm actually pretty good at seeing opportunities and seeing those, and realize that other people maybe don't see those opportunities, which are, of course, around for every day for it to be seized or utilized.
And do you find that, I mean, is this advantageous in your teaching just now?
Yeah. I guess I subscribe more to personalities than putting people in brackets of, but I think that in my subject area, or in lots of subject areas, creativity is something which is extremely valuable. So I studied at art school, and I could say probably the most valuable thing from that was this idea of becoming a lifelong learner, is having an ability to learn or seeing the value in that, and creatively thinking or thinking outside of the box for solving problems is something which was incredibly valuable there. Yeah.
Superb. I'd like to know what do you enjoy about teaching? What lights you up?
I love working in Edinburgh Napier, especially we were talking before about Edinburgh Napier has a wider access policy, and some of the people that you work with there, which maybe you wouldn't work with in other institutions, I find really fascinating and inspiring. We're giving the example, say, of a student from, say, Northern Ireland, who quite often these students are the first person in a family to go to university, and their motivations can be quite different from maybe traditional, more privileged people from more privileged backgrounds going into higher education. So I find that very rewarding to see the kind of transformative experience you can have on people's lives. And I really like the dialogue as well that comes about through teaching, that it's not just this kind of passive pouring of knowledge, that there's an engagement with people, and I try and facilitate that engagement and dialogue as much as possible in the curriculum design. So the use of blogs and social media means that quite often collectively in a class there can be ideas and concepts which arise by empowering student in the learning process, and I find that very rewarding. We're talking also about one definition of love or creating of meaning through seeing untapped potential in another person, coming from Viktor E. Frankl's book, The Man's Search for Meaning. And I definitely subscribe to that idea. I think it's extremely satisfying to be able to enable untapped potential in someone. I think it connects to the things I was mentioning with dyslexia before about seeing opportunities. I think, yes, you see opportunities in the world, but you also see those untapped opportunities in other people as well.
Yeah. Well, what would you like people outside of teaching and the role that you're in to understand about what you do day in day out, where you invest your time?
I think that a lot of people have some kind of experience in education, and I hope that I think maybe the rarer thing in education, or if someone is a young person, say 17 in Scotland, is making such an important decision of what subject area they're going to focus on, quite often they're influenced by their parents or, sensible decisions. I would like people to encourage, if they're in a position to encourage their children to think, to engage them with their passions. And I think that's a great way of bringing out the best in people, is to nurture passions. And if their natural gifts and ability can be married with these passions, then really great things happen. So I think that, there should be less worry and concern about, future job prospects or so, and much more in engaging people in what their natural talents are and their interests. So I mentioned before, Ken Robinson's book, The Elements. I think that covers that very well. Creativity and education. So.
Well, going from creativity to sort of the logistics side, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on paperwork and bureaucracies. So, do you find that the paperwork and bureaucracies that you encounter facilitate you in achieving what you're trying to do in teaching?
I think there's definitely a delicate balance. Edinburgh Napier is it's large in that there's 17,000 plus students, but smaller compared to other higher education institutions. But I think that in higher education in general, we're probably more fortunate than in schools, that there's less kind of teaching by numbers, and you have more flexibility in the creation of your curriculum. But of course, there is some layers of bureaucracy which can, if they're not kind of carefully kept in check, can take over the educational experience. Again, personally, I've been fortunate to have a mentor whose kind of philosophy through this is ask for forgiveness, not for permission, and that was something which there's certainly common sense situations, and to drive for what you think is right, rather than jumping through hoops, has been definitely a positive experience working with someone like that, having a good mentor.
And in the future, where would you like to take your teaching? Just as an end note to this.
Well, a conversation we were having a little earlier was about potential research for practice. And I think now, the last couple of years developing a program, there's certainly been some layers of bureaucracy which has taken me a little away from my kind of core practice and the things which interested me there. So I would like to use this research as a way of engaging again with that idea and connecting as much as possible to the things which excited me by working with people who are, say, marginalized or for whatever reason or have not given access to education, and working closely with them at a participatory level to facilitate the development in their life through the visual medium, through digital, and through education.
Well, John Morrison, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.